On October 21st, 2021, Alec Baldwin was filming a Western movie entitled Rust in Bonanza Creek, New Mexico. Baldwin was rehearsing a scene with director Joel Sousa and cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Baldwin was seated in a church practicing a cross draw with a .45 caliber revolver. As Baldwin practiced pulling the weapon from the left side of his body with his right arm, the gun discharged. The bullet struck Helena Hutchins and Joel Sousa. Joel survived, but Helena did not. Body cameras were rolling as emergency responders arrived, capturing the reaction of everyone on set, including Alec Baldwin. What do these videos reveal? What was Baldwin saying? And what does it prove? We'll take a closer look as we investigate the Alec Baldwin movie set shooting. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thanks for joining us. How did this happen? How did this happen? That is the question everyone asks when I talk about this case. How does a live round end up on a movie set? How does a live round end up in a weapon? How does a live round end up getting discharged? We're shooting a movie. And now Alec Baldwin being charged with what happened here. The death of Helena Hutchins, a cinematographer doing her job, a mom. You look at where this gun ended up. It ended up in Alec Baldwin's hands, but before he had it in his hand, Hannah Gutierrez, the armorer, is the one who loaded it. David Halls, the assistant director, the one in charge of safety on the set. He was the one who sort of checked it, but didn't really check it. He admitted only checked 3 rounds. And it ends up in Alec Baldwin's hands. And then the gun discharges. Like, you can argue about how that happened, but every image I've seen, and I'm gonna show you one in just a second, his finger is on the trigger. Like, it's pretty basic stuff. That's how a gun gets fired. So, the actual scene where this tragedy occurred was just a rehearsal. And it wasn't the first rehearsal of the scene. Before Helena Hutchins is shot and killed, there is a rehearsal before lunch. And this rehearsal is actually being recorded. And this rehearsal is played, and we're going to take a look at it now. You're going to hear some voices. You'll hear Alec Baldwin's attorney. That's the voice that's loudest. You will also hear the voices of the people who are on the set that day. You will hear the director. You'll hear Alec Baldwin's voice as well, because this is the rehearsal of the scene that they do in the afternoon where Helena gets shot. So you can see exactly the layout and what is happening here. And this is important because we're trying to answer the question, how does this happen? Were they following the proper protocol for rehearsing a scene? Let's take a look.
I'm gonna go find some help.
I don't need no damn help.
You're gonna die if we don't.
He's wounded and on the run. Play again. Continue.
Arlen Rust. Did you stand up nice and slow, tossing your weapons you have?
He's on the church pew, bleeding, his hand gripping the revolver. He would defend himself against the men in the movie. Play.
One more. You good? Ready?
Arlen Rust. Did you get up nice and slow, tossing the weapons you have?
Well, how close can I get right there?
Joe, the only way wait to give you that line till he lands, till camera lands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Draw your gun and look up and point your gun, okay?
Okay, which way? Camera right or left?
This side, for now.
So camera left for now.
I'll stand right here for you, Alec.
So whip it out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get this all greased. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Okay, ready? Ready.
And set. Ready, and action.
Island Rust.
Do one more just like that. You got one more? Yeah.
Ready, ready, ready,
They
ready?
want him to do it again. There's no danger. They want him to do it again.
And set. Ready, and action.
Island Rust. Nice.
It's a scene similar to scenes we've all seen in movies and television, performed by thousands of actors. And the scene that continues after lunch is the same scene, it's just not unfortunately captured on videotape.
Same scene is where Helena Hutchins dies. So is that the proper way to rehearse a gun scene? Now, Alec Baldwin also spoke in his police interview about what was going on there, some of the things that we don't see on the other side of the camera. Take a listen.
The gag in the shot, you're the camera because I have a coat and I have a holster and I pull the coat over and I kind of cup my hands like I folded my hands. And then I'm going to slowly sneak the revolver or the Colt out and turn and shoot these other guys or try to shoot them. I take the coat over the thing, the camera's there. I believe, my recollection is she was there, turned a bit, like talking to him. So I think she was hitting the right armpit. But this is all I know, and that is that I take the gun out in the rehearsal. He wants it very dramatic and very sort of kind of sneak up on them. I take the gun out, and as it clears, as the barrel clears, I turn and cock the gun over here. I turn and cock the gun goes off. But I draw the gun slowly and aim off camera, and there's supposed to be nothing in there. So she's not protecting herself and standing off. I'm shooting in a direction, and everybody is supposed to be to that side of the camera. There's nobody in my line. Nobody. And so when I shoot the gun, so in the rehearsal, I'm assuming I have an empty gun, and the gun goes off, she's right in front of me. Mm-hmm. She's as far from me as I am from the difference between maybe you and the door.
Okay. So pretty close proximity.
It was a very tight shot.
Okay.
The shot was here. Of me, not of me, it's of me pulling the gun slowly, turn cock.
Okay.
And she's right there, vulnerable, in a position she wouldn't ordinarily be if we were shooting, and this thing, boom, she hits the ground.
Now, I've never been on a movie set for a gun scene like this. I don't know if this is how you are supposed to rehearse those scenes within safety protocols. So I need some experts to help us tonight. Let's bring them in. Director, Rehearsal Films International. She's currently filming Subject A, a World War II movie about veterans that served. Laura Pellegrini is with us. Also joining us, former prop master with over a decade of experience. He worked with Alec Baldwin on the film 13 Days to Glory. He's also an attorney at law. Jeffrey Spellerberg is with us. Thank you to you both. Okay.
Thanks, Vinnie.
You heard Alec Baldwin's description of what's happening on the other side of the camera, right? You saw what they were doing. This is the rehearsal. Laura, is this the way that you rehearse a gun scene?
Not on a set that Stefano DeFrey, the director of Stolen Doe, and I produced, run a set. You know, typically during a rehearsal, if you're dealing with firearms, you should use the rehearsal as an opportunity to frame out shots and to experiment with lenses and to stage it. But now that I'm looking at the footage, they could have used an opportunity to test the gun outside the firearms. The armor, could have been testing the gun to see that it was in fact a cold gun while Alec was rehearsing with the cinematographer. He could have easily used a prop in the place of the gun. He didn't have to have a gun on set at the time. They could have used that as an opportunity to make sure that a cold gun was in fact prepared for when they actually filmed the scene. It would have led to better safety enforcement. It would have, I think, led to a more fruitful filming process and safer filming process.
Jeffrey, you've been on movie sets, is this the way you rehearse a scene with a gun?
Yeah, this is pretty typical, I think, of how a lot of people rehearse scenes. What you're seeing, oftentimes what should happen is the armorer should also be there on the set all the time. Whenever my gun's on the set, I'm there to watch what happens. And one of the reasons you do that is so that you can see where they're going to point it and how they're going to point it, and how, the director, the DP, the actor, they're all working together to try to create a scene. And it's whatever his script says, it probably has one line that says he draws his gun carefully, or he draws his cleverly pulls his gun out, or whatever it is. And so they're trying to figure out how his eye lines are going to be, which direction he's going to point the gun. And so typically, sometimes actors will rehearse. I'm probably an older school guy. A long time ago, I did these kind of movies, and we would rehearse with real guns with dummy rounds. I'd bring a dummy round gun to the set, and I would show it to the actor, and I would also dry fire it like 8 times to make sure there was nothing in it. The most dangerous thing you could maybe think would be a blank round, but this is not particularly unusual, in my opinion.
So, Laura, how about where everyone was standing, right? Something that Alec Baldwin said was they weren't supposed to be there. Where do people stand when you've got a scene like this where someone has to point the weapon, right? Part of the scene is pointing the weapon. Where do people stand, and whose responsibility is it to make sure everyone is in the right place?
Yeah, it's a good question, Vinnie. Typically on sets, there's a 25 to 30 foot of safety rule where you should allow that much distance between the subject who has the gun from where they're pointing. And from what it looks like in the footage, it looks like that was violated. And that is part of a union protocol. So that's obviously disturbing for that reason. Oftentimes on sets too, or at least the ones that I've been on and had the opportunity to be a producer on, you'll have Perspex glass. And that's usually there to create a protective shield in the event that you do need to rehearse with a prop gun, to ensure that in the event something does happen, God forbid, that there is a safety violation, that, again, there's that shield of protection. But again, none of these things were enforced, and they were typically working with a higher budget. They were working under SAG regulations.
Right.
So, it's obviously it's disconcerting that those things weren't followed just on a basic level.
All right, our guests are staying with us. Our experts are staying with us. When we come back, we'll talk about what exactly is the responsibility of the actor.
A-list actor Alec Baldwin is cast in the real-life role he never wanted.
I turn and cock the gun, the gun goes off.
Criminal defendant.
His lack of gun safety is something that he's going to have to answer for.
We heard that this was a toxic set.
One more.
It's not his fault. He did nothing wrong.
Is there an actor's exemption from liability when they're handling a deadly firearm?
The Alec Baldwin manslaughter trial. Live coverage weekday mornings only on Court TV.
I left my wife and 6 kids in New York to come here for a month to shoot this movie, and I'm the one that shot the gun today that had a live bullet go through that woman's body and into his body. And I need to know, how did that happen? Where did that bullet come from?
That's an unanswered question, where exactly the bullet came from. We know where it ended up, and we know who fired it as well. So Alec Baldwin, I mean, his job as an actor in this particular movie, Rust, was to be a Western outlaw. So he's going to be shooting and firing guns all the time. I mean, that's part of the show. That's what they're filming. There you see members of the crew relatively close to Alec Baldwin as he's shooting blanks. But unfortunately, in one of the weapons that he picked up, in one scene, it had a live round. So what exactly are the responsibilities of the actor for gun safety on a set? Important question. Take a listen to Alec Baldwin's attorney explain their position on this issue.
He was an actor acting, playing the role of Harlan Rust. An actor playing a character can act in ways that are lethal, that just aren't lethal on a movie set. These cardinal rules, they're not cardinal rules on a movie set. And I don't have to tell you much more about this because you've all seen gunfights in movies. And the reason that can happen is because safety is ensured before the actor. The prop gun was placed in Mr. Baldwin's hands and cold gun was announced, meaning it had been checked and double-checked by those responsible to ensure the gun was safe. It was just a prop. They all thought it was just a prop and could do no harm. The actor's job is to act, to rehearse, to choreograph his moves, to memorize his lines. He's Harlan Rust. He's an outlaw running for his life, who in the incident in question, he's pulling a 6-shooter to try to defend himself. That's why the gun has to be safe before it gets into the actor's hands. He was just acting as he has done for generations, and it was the safety apparatus that failed them all. The guidelines were followed. They followed the safety guidelines. Actors don't check the weapons. Safety is ensured by dedicated personnel.
My experts back with me, Laura Pellegrini, film director, Jeffrey Spellerberg, former prop master, also a lawyer. Can't leave that out. Let me ask you, Jeffrey, what I'm hearing and what I hear is that from Alec Baldwin's team is that actors have no safety responsibilities. All of that is done before the actor is handed the gun. Is that the way it works on a set? Is the actor exempt from any sort of safety check or safety protocols?
Yeah, I think the actor has a responsibility to act in a normal, reasonable manner when you hand him a gun with blank rounds in it. If you hand him a gun and you've declared it safe and he's seen that it's safe or he understands it to be safe, he's going to get in there and he's going to practice with it, and you expect him to do things with it. He's going to hold the gun however he feels like he needs to hold it. They're going to go over different things. They may want to see different looks. Even the scene you're showing right now, the camera is so close to Alec, you can see the barrel goes right over the top of the camera. So there's no 30-foot rule or anything right there. And when they're really going to do a shooting scene, that is when they typically bring the plexiglass in. I don't know. I didn't ever see people rehearse and with a cold gun and then decide to make the whole set safe in that respect. But it's not his job. It's the job of the armorer. The armorer is the person here who bears the blame. In my opinion, if it was me and it had happened to me, I would expect me to be prosecuted. The actor is busy with a lot of other things he has to do. He has to be able to look at get his eye lines down. He has to have his lines down. He has to bring some kind of a certain emotion to it, and he's going to bring suggestions during a rehearsal. It's not at all unusual.
Laura, cold gun was announced. Someone said cold gun. Is that enough? And now the gun is declared cold by whomever, and whoever gets the gun can do what they need to do with it?
In theory, Vinnie, yes. You know, depending on how safety protocols run on set. But even to Jeffrey's point earlier, there are instances where the armorer does show the actor, even if they declare cold gun, they will show the actor that the barrel doesn't have live rounds and that there are blanks, just for extra reinforcement. And I think what elevates this case to a point of complexity is that in that moment, Baldwin was an actor. He was. That was his sole responsibility, to be an actor, to be the character, to be an outlaw and embody those qualities. But the bigger picture is that he was a co-producer on the project. So if we're looking at this more holistically as a collective, he was responsible for regulating safety on set to some degree. And that boils down to the people that were hired, the quality of their background, among other producers.
He didn't do that. That's ridiculous.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I mean, as a matter of fact, they had a motion in limine which absolutely denied that they can even bring evidence about his production in here. You know,
right. It won't be evidence in the case, but is it part of what actually happened?
No, but I don't think it's at all a part of his culpability. You know, your producers have different roles, and a unit production manager is a lot different than an executive producer who maybe brings the screenplay and maybe brings some of the financing, the picture. He's not hiring or hiring any kind of actors or anything like that for this picture. He's an actor. I don't think he was even on the set for a full week until they started shooting. So to think that he's actually a safety officer running around as a producer is kind of, it's just not done. The safety officer that works for the film is the first AD. He is the guy who's supposed to be there watching on behalf of the actual corporation that's making the picture. And the armor is the last line, is actually the person who's completely responsible for what happens with the gun. There's nobody else that's supposed to be above her head. She's the top as the armor. She's the top of her department, you could sort of say. And if she can't do if she failed in her job, and if the first AD doesn't bother to check and make sure it's going on, and first AD doesn't even have her on the set, there's a lot of things that's not Alec's fault. He didn't put any bullet in the gun or do any of that stuff. So I have a hard time seeing where they're ever going to get him convicted on this case.
Let's take a look at one other thing I want to show you here. Alec Baldwin on set, some of the other moments that have taken place. Here he's, again, using the gun to sort of point around. Let's take a look.
Let me show you something. Hold on. Step back to your original mark. So 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, I'm getting up. Right. Then when he drops his arm, Helena get out, he drops his arm, that means Brady's close. I'm going to start to really get up. Okay.
We have less than a minute. Laura, your thoughts about that moment?
Well, I mean, I think it's clear from a lot of the video footage that Alec was running the set. He was calling the shots, it seems, even as a director and as a producer on set. So again, a lot of the roles, I think over time that he had to take on have become blurred. And I think using the defense that he was just an actor on set is not sufficient enough grounds to try him. Not this far into the case, over the course of this many years.
Jeffrey, I have about 15 seconds. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of actors make suggestions and try to get a second shot or try to do something like that. I don't think it makes him the person who's the liable person. The first AD, if he sees an actor doing something wrong, he steps in and stops it and does something. If the first AD doesn't do that, I see him as being the problem. Thank you to Laura Pellegrini and Jeffrey Spellerberg. Great insight. Appreciate your time and your expertise. When we come back, we'll take a look at the reactions of Alec Baldwin.
Bonanza Creek Ranch has had 2 people accidentally shot on a movie set by a prop gun.
My understanding, were you in the room when the lady, when someone was shot? Holding the gun, yeah. Okay.
You have the right to stop questioning at any time or to stop questioning for the purpose of consulting a lawyer.
So my only question is, am I being charged with something?
An actor doesn't get a free pass just because they're an actor.
Welcome back. Alec Baldwin, how did he react after this shooting? He's being judged. And one way that you judge someone is you look at, okay, after this happened, what did you do? How did you act? Let's take a look of Alec Baldwin. One of the responding officers had a body camera video on, and that video was recorded. Let's take a look at Alec Baldwin when the first responder show up at the scene, what he's saying, what he's doing, how he's reacting.
How's it going, sir? So my understanding, were you in the room when the lady, when someone was shot? Holding the gun, yeah. Okay, alrighty. What do you need? Let me get with my lieutenant and see where we want you to hang out. Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
Yes, sir.
She said to me, empty gun. Usually we would load, so we were ready to shoot. Everybody was prepped. Yeah. Earplugs, everything.
Alrighty,
Where should I go?
Mr. Baldwin, my lieutenant just wants you to stay away from everybody and not to talk to nobody. So I was.
Wait right here.
We can wait right here and have everybody step back, or we can wait in the back of my patrol unit, but I prefer to not put you there, okay?
Is Joe gone? They both gone?
Well, they're still working on the female. If you haven't seen the helicopter take off, then they're not gone yet. So, Mr. Baldwin, how many people were in the room when it happened?
I don't know. It's a crew.
As of right now, her status is questionable. That's why we called the air light.
And then they cleared the gun outside after at his request, and I witnessed them clear it and saw the bullets.
Okay. So
the one that was missing, the one that was fired, we don't know, but all the other ones were proper.
They had loads.
They were quarter loads, lanes.
They had loads. They told me. Well, they didn't know. They did just do their shake test. Right, but see, when we're rehearsing, you give me the empty gun. low. It's hot until we're ready to shoot. So we put the earplugs in.
You all right?
No, I'm not all right. I'm worried about her.
Troy's doing okay.
He is. What's her story?
A little bit rougher.
Roll 1 on 10.
It was the shoulder, though. But Helena, where did it?
So hers appeared to went through her her right underarm.
Yeah.
And the exit point was on her back left shoulder blade. So it went through. So.
Mr. Baldwin, Detective Roy Arndt. Nice to meet you, sir. Yeah, if we could have a chat over here. Are you doing okay?
No, I'm not, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Crazy series of events. So, we're requesting that you and Ms. Gutierrez conduct interviews back at the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office. Yeah, if an associate or... Okay. We would appreciate that, and then we'll...
When do you want me to do that?
We're gonna probably go right now.
So I want to look at this reaction from two different perspectives. I'm going to bring in a couple experts to help us through all this. Joining us tonight from New Mexico, criminal defense attorney, he's a good one, Gary Mitchell is with us, and clinical and forensic neuropsychologist, associate professor at Pepperdine University, and author of the book, The New Rules of Attachment, Dr. Judy Ho is with us as well. Another great one, of course. That's who we bring on this program. Let me start with you, Gary. What do you see in the way he reacted, and do you think the way he's reacting is going to help him or hurt him in the way he is perceived?
It's going to help him. He's in shock, obviously. He's very polite. He is not condescending at all to law enforcement. And you can tell just from the videos that this has shaken him to the bottom of his boots. He really, I think it's excellent if the defense uses it because it shows that he's a human being. He's a man at work, for example, and he depended on others at work to make sure things were safe, and then something happens. It's no different than being on an oil derrick, working construction, or operating heavy equipment. Things happen and people get hurt sometimes. But if you weren't the one at fault, then you shouldn't be held to blame. So I think it's good for the defense.
Dr. Judy Ho, what are you seeing, what are you hearing from Alec Baldwin in these moments as the first deputies show up?
Well, Vinnie, right before the deputy showed up, I think he was sort of looking for an answer. Why did this happen? You were supposed to hand me ones with blanks during rehearsal. You know, he was sort of explaining himself. That's why you can see that the deputy was approaching him and saying, hey, let's not have this conversation, right? They're probably trying to figure out how they're going to get the information that they need to do their investigation, and they don't want Alec Baldwin to necessarily be coloring their perceptions of what happened. But very quickly, you can see the shift of, well, she's clearly not okay. It went through her body. He looks like he's in shock. He's stressed out. Just as the attorney just said right now, I think that this is going to be helpful for him because he's having a very human response. He's not saying, hey, I'm Alec Baldwin. Why do I have to do anything? He's being very respectful to law enforcement. And he's saying, I will cooperate to the best of my ability. Just tell me what to do. And he's asking to be directed. He's saying, you tell me what to do. You're the authority in this situation. And I think that that was a really good moment for people to see.
Let's take a closer look at one of the moments here, because this is significant. This is when he finds out where this bullet traveled, and it traveled through the body of Helena Hutchins. So let's watch that one more time.
It appeared to it went through her her right underarm. Yeah. And the exit point was on her back left shoulder blade. So.
She went across her body.
It went through. So.
Life-threatening?
Oh, God. Yeah, enough to get air flight, so. But.
She was shocking, but she was conscious and responsive.
Why did they wait so long?
Because you have to stabilize, and for every narcotic and anything they administer, they have to wait a certain period.
See vehicles coming up the road, guys.
Gary, as we watch that again, you know, a little closer up, seeing Alec Baldwin and the reaction, the way he is going here. I'm in agreement with both of you. This is not the public perception we necessarily have of Alec Baldwin. At least some people do, about the way he acts and reacts. He is feeling genuinely bad at this moment, and it seems like that sympathy is for the victim, Helena.
It is. It's excellent evidence that we have a man here who was shocked by what happened, did not expect it. I mean, this wasn't some drunken New Year's Eve party. This is people at work. Somebody made a mistake and bad things happened. It happens in work. It happens in the occupations we all deal with. And if you're dealing with things that are dangerous, whether it's, as I keep saying, whether it's guns, firearms, whether it's heavy equipment, oil derricks, natural gas, you name it, that we all do in New Mexico, this stuff happens to people. If it's a cave-in or whatever the case may be. And that's the way we have to, I think that from the defense side, they have to show this. And here's a man that really is concerned, and he obviously is an older man. He knows that an injury like that is normally not just life-threatening, but normally fatal. I mean, most of us that have been around for a while know that that type of gunshot is not survivable.
Dr. Judy Ho, the other thing you see, there's the woman next to him, she's breaking down. It seems like this is a collective moment for everyone involved on that set, realizing how serious this is at that moment.
Exactly, and you can hear her audibly crying and just, at a loss for words. And you can see Alec next to her, basically just being really contemplative. Even if he's not showing the kind of emotion, everybody processes this type of sudden trauma very differently, but you can see that he is processing it. He's being pensive, he's being quiet, and he's letting the facts settle in, and nobody really knows what that means, but everybody knows that this is something very serious. And you can tell just in the way that people are talking about it. Their language is more cautious. They're a little bit more halted. They're finding a way to try to say it somewhat delicately, but also they have to tell the truth. And this is a collective moment for the entire crew on this movie.
Now, he changes his clothes. He's cooperating. He goes back to the precinct. He begins to give his interview, and he's going back, describing everything from his perspective that happened. But at one moment during that interview is when he learns that Helena Hutchins has passed away. Let's take a look at that moment.
Okay, are we ready for, I do have some very unfortunate news to tell you.
What?
She didn't make it. Yeah. So Joel's still at the hospital, but the other person involved didn't make it. Sorry. I just didn't want you to hear it outside of here. Is there something we could do for you? Doesn't say that Jonah. What? Jonah, the one back there? Yeah, okay, but you want Jonah in here with you?
Gary Mitchell, that's not acting.
No, it's not. It's reality. It's life and death, and it's most appropriate. And I think, as the defense attorney said this morning in opening, he was in shock. And indeed, it shows. You can't fake that kind of thing. The jury's going to watch that if they show it to them and see exactly what happened there and understand that this was an accident. I think.
Yeah, Dr. Judy Ho, at that moment, you know, just watching it, you feel bad for Alec Baldwin, believe it or not. Like most people in this situation, he was the one holding the gun. Helena's the one who died, but his reaction makes you feel bad for him as well.
Definitely, Vinny. I mean, you can see him almost becoming smaller as he's absorbing the news. His shoulders are hunched over. He's clutching at his own chest. His voice becomes smaller when the detectives asked him if there's anything they can do for him. He's just like, I want to go. It's like a little child, you know, saying, I want to go home. I don't want to do this anymore, because it's very, very hard for him to process that. 1 minute she was standing there talking to him, working, just completely alive. And then because of this accidental shooting, she's no longer here. I mean, I don't even think that he was able to process it in the moment. I think he was waiting for the detectives to say, no, that's not what we meant, or to correct their statement. But once he realized, no, they're not joking. That's it. That's the whole story. She's gone. I think he kind of shrunk into himself. It was like he didn't know how to deal with it in that moment.
All right, my experts, my guests are staying with us. When we come back, we'll take a look at Alec Baldwin's demeanor inside the courtroom next.
A-list actor Alec Baldwin is cast in the real-life role he never wanted.
I turn company, the gun goes off.
Criminal defendant.
The Alec Baldwin manslaughter trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Friday nights, the WNBA is on Ion. This week, the Mercury tests the fever. Then, the Lynx fly into the storm. Coverage starts Friday night at 7. Check local listings for games in your area. Ion, it's on.
Mr. Baldwin, do you have a comment ahead of trial?
Baldwin, stand back.
Mr. Baldwin,
how are you feeling today, sir?
Doing this morning?
Alec Baldwin arriving with family at the courthouse. He's in one SUV. Hilaria, his wife, and the little baby in a second SUV. Obviously, a lot of people interested in getting images, like our Court TV cameras as well, as he makes his way into court, but really paying attention to how he's interacting. Like a lot of times you'll see Alec Baldwin interacting with paparazzi who are usually there. It's not happening at the courthouse. Want to bring back in our experts, Dr. Judy Ho and Gary Mitchell, still with us. Let's watch more of Alec Baldwin arriving. And Gary, from your perspective, you get a high-profile case like this. You know Alec Baldwin has a bit of a history with the paparazzi, at least. But it seems here he's kind of pulling back and just kind of like zeroing in on getting into that courthouse. Your thoughts about handling, you know, that situation in a big case like this?
Well, my thoughts are this. This is what I tell all my clients, whether it's a high-profile case or just a regular homicide type case that we do, is this. You need to be humble and serious. You're not to partake in any jokes. You're not to be smiling. You're not to be constantly on your attorney's arm, peppering him with questions or that kind of thing. But you sit there because 24 eyes are watching you at all times. And there's always somebody on the jury that's going to see every little thing that you do. So you take it seriously. It's your liberty that's at stake. And sometimes it's your life at stake. At the end of the day, what you really want is for the janitor that cleans the courthouse to say to his wife or his family when he goes home, you know, that man is a very serious, humble man. He appears to be a nice guy. Now, that's the measure you want. And in New Mexico, that's serious business. Just like having members of his family, we expect that in New Mexico. If your family's not going to support you, then you've got a problem. All done well today, by the way. Just exactly what they should be doing.
Dr. Judy Ho, I want to show you now Alec Baldwin inside the courtroom. And as you can see, taking a lot of notes inside court, what do you think of his appearance, his demeanor, and sort of what he is presenting as the jury's in there, obviously at times looking at him?
Well, as Gary mentioned, the jury is astute. There are members of the jury who take their job very seriously, and you're in the courtroom for weeks with these people. And whoever's testifying, whatever's going on, they're always going to be checking in with the defendant and looking at their response. Right now, you're looking at Alec Baldwin. He's got his glasses on, a nice suit. He's appearing very serious and somber. He's taking notes. He's taking this trial seriously. That's the message that he's trying to convey. And I think that it's a good message. This is a person's life that was lost. And whether or not he should be held responsible criminally is different from whether or not he's a human being and can act like a human being in a serious situation. So of course there's the criminal bar, who is to blame and is he to blame? But then there's the, how do you feel about him as a person, right? So jury gets their instructions, but they're also human beings and they want to have a human connection. They want to look at him and say, okay, you care about this person that was lost. Whatever happens to you in this trial, do you care? Do you have empathy? That's going to be a big piece of the deciding factor of what happens here.
I want to show you, this is during the opening statement, and it's about 25 minutes where he is busy taking these notes. Let's watch.
Again, Mr. Baldwin is presumed innocent. The burden is always on the state to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt during or at the end of trial. First of all of you must pay close attention to the evidence. We'll help you assess their appearance, behavior, memory, and whatever else bears on their credibility. Let's go through the order of trial for those that have not engaged in a criminal trial before.
Rules of firearm safety. People's lives are endangered, and someone could be killed in Santa Fe County. You will learn that this movie...
You know, Gary, as I'm watching this, if I didn't know who Alec Baldwin was, I'd think he's the lead counsel here.
Well, that's always a good thing because he's taking notes and he's taking us so seriously. The point is he never smiles. He never acts, he never looks at the jurors and stares them down, none of that kind of stuff. He's very serious, and he should be.
Dr. Judy Ho, I want to show you something else here. This is another moment where he seemed to appear a little tired at the end of the day. You can see that it's not easy. I'm looking at Hilaria as well behind him, and she seems a little nervous. And I guess she should be. 7 kids at home. He could go to prison for 18 months.
Right. And I think that it's okay that he's showing that human side. You know, at the end of a day, you've heard lots of procedures, lots of evidence, and you know you're tired. And I think that's an understandable response, an understandable one from his wife too. And I do think that these glimpses into their humanity is actually going to be helpful rather than harmful. I think that people are going to be watching for any micro expressions, right? Even if there's a little smirk somewhere, or if it's not that he looks tired, but he looks bored. You know, you never know what people are going to perceive. And all these jury members are coming from their own personal backgrounds, their own history and experience, what they know about Alec Baldwin in the press, what they feel about people who appear to have money and have it all and have power. And all of that's going to play a role. But the more that he can say, I am just like you, and I lost somebody, and there's a grief here too on top of this case, I think that that's going to help the jury to come to a decision that hopefully is going to be fair, but also is not going to take into account maybe some of the more negative perceptions that people have had about Alec Baldwin.
Dr. Judy Ho, Gary Mitchell, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Before we go tonight, please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child. Carson Pollard is his name. He's only 14. He's missing out of Springfield, Ohio since July 3rd. If you see Carson, pick up the phone, make the call. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or the Clark County Sheriff's Office in Ohio. Let's see if we can get Carson to a safe place tonight. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, and as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.